So we are going to get started this afternoon. Our topic is a time I wish I had an undo button. We all have those crossroads, and we turned right and we wish we had turned left. Or maybe we wish we didn't hit that crossroad at all. So you're going to hear a variety of experiences somehow connected to that topic. I'm not going to tell you anything about the storytellers or the stories until after they have spoken. Up next is Hans Horning.
My real mission up here today is to make sure that Libby doesn't self-destruct over here. She always expects me to self-destruct. She thinks anybody that skates as close to the edge as I do has got to fall through. So my mission today is to make sure that Libby doesn't self-destruct. I want to tell you about being down low in Beaufort. I retired in 2003 when I was 60. I was living in Connecticut at the time. I sold everything that I owned, and I moved aboard a boat that I owned to become a live-aboard boater and to go cruising, all right? So let me tell you about some of the terms of the trade here so you understand. All right, boating is when you get up in the morning, you go down the marina, you get on your boat, you go out in the lake and the river, you come back. Late in the afternoon, you go home. Cruising, you go down, you get on your boat, and you don't come back. Weeks, months, years, sometimes never. Okay? And you live on your boat during that time. The boat was a big boat. It was 44 feet. The name of the type of the boat is a trawler. It's modeled after the commercial fishing boats that fish in the North Sea and off the Grand Banks off of New England. The company that manufactured it made a couple of recreational versions, and that's what I owned. Weighed 15 tons. That's a big boat, in case you don't know. I wasn't about to suffer, however, all right? I had 2 staterooms. Those are bedrooms. I had a living area, which is called a salon in boating. I had a galley. I had a shower. I even had satellite TV. So it's not like I was suffering any. All right? I lived on the boat for 6 years. I traveled about 35,000 miles on it. Across the Erie Canal, through parts of Canada, down through the Great Lakes, the Mississippi, down to the Gulf Coast, over the Bahamas. But most of the time I spent on the Intercoastal Waterway, the ICW. It's a coastal waterway back east. It goes from Miami up to Norfolk, Virginia. That's about 1,000 miles. It is a collection of naturally occurring rivers, lakes, bays, navigable estuaries, and where they don't connect, there's a cut made, all right, a canal, a channel, all right? You can go from Key West, Florida, which is the furthest point south in the United States, all the way up to Philadelphia, without going on the outside. The outside is the open ocean. All right. 2005, 2006, somewhere in that neighborhood, I'm going north on the Intercoastal. and I'm approaching Beaufort, South Carolina. Beaufort's a nice little river town. It's gentrified. I'd been there many times. I always stopped every time I passed Beaufort. I needed a couple of things, a couple of grocery items, carton of smokes, as I recall. I dropped the hook, the anchor, in the Beaufort River. I go ashore. I go out to this shopping center that I know is on the outside of town. I know that from before when I was in town. I get my smokes. I'm on the way out. I see an Outback Steakhouse. Now, if you're a liveaboard boater, you've been out 5, 6, 7 days on the water, coming ashore and having a good meal, that's a big deal. All right? That's the good life. So I went into the Outback Steakhouse. I had myself a bloomin' onion. I had a nice steak, glass of wine. It's all good. I'm walking out of the Outback Steakhouse on my way back to the boat. My tummy does a little heave. Right? Nothing too serious, 1 or 2 on a Richter scale. But it's this tummy letting me know that, look, what I had just sent down there to be digested was not appreciated. And there would be consequences. Well, I've been there before. All right? It's a little case of food poisoning. Okay? When you have food poisoning, you know certain things for certain. All right? You can't do anything about it. It's too late. The outcome is non-negotiable. The gates are going to open at a time and place of their choosing. And the last thing you know is when it happens, it's going to be explosive. First thing I think is, maybe I can get back to the boat in time. All right? I think I know a shortcut. Oh, but man, I'm wrong. I'm all wrong. I take the shortcut. By the time I realize how lost I am, I can't even remember how to retrace the steps to get back to where I got lost at in the first place. Richter scales at about 4, 4.5. It's dark. It's pitch black by now. I'm wandering through what looks like a small trailer park. And it's nice. They've kept it nice, the folks have. It doesn't deserve what's about to happen to it. I'm walking along, and I know it's time. All right? Off to my left is what seems like a small park, okay? I hustle off the road, okay? Trying to get my shoes off so I get my shorts off, get my skivvies off, and the gate's open. Right then, I hear a door open and close. I hear a car door slam. The motor starts. The headlights come on. I'm directly in the middle of the headlights. Right? I think to myself, I got to get out of here. I got to hide. All right? I look over here. There's a little skinny tree. All right? I think I can get behind the tree. All right? I turn to make a run for it. And, I step in it. Now I can only imagine what the guy in the car is thinking. All right? Imagine it. You get in the car, you start the motor, you put on the lights, you look at the windshield. You see this old guy standing there buck naked, holding a fully loaded pair of skivvies, looking like a deer in the headlight. I think he thinks to himself, I don't want to know. There is nothing that anybody can tell me that is going to make what I'm looking at make sense. I'm out of here. He speeds off. I mean, what's he going to do? Pull up alongside me, roll down the window and say, hey, buddy, can I give you a lift? Okay, me, I'm standing here. I take these skivvies, I throw them behind a bush. I get myself cleaned up the best I can. I get my shorts back on. And long story short, I find my way back to the boat eventually. All right? I got a shower on the boat. Although, as I recall, I was such a mess, I just dove in the river that night. So later on, I'm out, I'm all cleaned up, dried off. I go out on deck, I'm having a smoke. I'm kind of chuckling to myself, you know, at the ridiculousness of this fiasco that I had just been in. And then I start thinking about the guy in the car and about how he tells his side of the story. Okay? And I always starts off each time by saying, folks, you can't make this stuff up. So what's the takeaway? All right? I think the takeaway is, look, always stay humble. No matter how high you're flying, you're on your boat, up and down the intercoastal waterway, you're stopping all the little towns, eating great seafood, washing it down with great booze. You're never flying so high that you can't still step in it. You know what I mean, huh? You should stay humble. If for no other reason, in anticipation of the time you have your next Buford moment. You know, when you're standing there in the high beams, metaphorically stark naked, feeling like the most foolish person on the face of the earth. If you've stayed humble, you can end up having a really good laugh on yourself. You didn't self-destruct, did you?
So our next storyteller is going to tell a story about seeing a guy in a park, and no. That is Hans Horning. Due to the Cramden's popularity, Hans made the decision not to go by his first name, which is Ralph. He moved to Prescott from South Carolina to escape the hurricanes, and Arizona-based friends had suggested Prescott. He's a Navy veteran, mostly worked in New York City, and the first thing that he does after a long day is to sit down, relax, and start streaming. He enjoys dramatic shows, especially with an insight into egos in hospitals, and is currently binge watching The Resident. Hans.